Got him. How do you want to start episode 2? Lord of the Rings. Hey y'all, there's no way you could possibly know this, but this week that this episode is airing is me and Mr. Marie's wedding anniversary. It is our 6th wedding anniversary and our 16th year together. So I wanted to do something a little special today. On this show, I always try to bring you guys something from my family, my history, my story. But today I'm gonna bring you something from Mr. Marie's history, from his story.
To celebrate getting married.
To celebrate getting married. My husband is Sicilian, second generation technically, and his family follows the Italian tradition. So at our wedding, we had a big platter of Italian cookies. So what I'm gonna make for you guys today is 2 different kinds of Italian cookies. One is from his cousin, sent me the recipe that she makes every year for the Italian fig cookies. Now these cookies in Italian are called bucciolate. Bucciolati. Bucciolate.
Now say it right.
Bucciolati.
Now let's pause and make sure that's right.
And then I'm also going to teach you a cookie that my husband's grandma made for him his entire life. His mom made him. We had to make sure they were at the wedding. They call them S cookies. Mr. Marie's name starts with an S. What his grandma would do is make a sesame cookie and shape it in the form of an S, and she would always say, "That's for you." I'm gonna make those cookies. I literally have the recipe with his mom's handwriting that I am following to guide me to be able to make those cookies correctly.
Do you have it?
It's upstairs.
Go get it.
Yeah. Going up the stairs. So here is the recipe. I was going through all of his grandma and his mom's recipes, and I found this. And I asked him, I was like, what was the S cookies? And he was like, oh, they're sesame seed cookies. And I found his mom's recipe for sesame seed cookies. I'm gonna get a little emotional, because seeing her handwriting does that to me. His mom was the most amazing woman I've ever met in my life. She and I were roommates while he was at college. We liked each other that much. I talked to her at least once a week when we lived in Chicago. I miss her a lot, and it means a lot to me to be able to do the recipe that she wrote out in her own handwriting. So this is the other cookie we're gonna be doing, is the S cookie, sesame seed cookie. The first thing I'm gonna do is teach you how to make fig cookies. I'm gonna tell you right now, we don't need this for the fig cookies, but go and melt 1 stick of butter and let it cool to room temperature. We're gonna need that later, that's important, but do it now because you're gonna need it.
While we're at it, what temperature should the oven be at?
The oven should be at 375, but we're not gonna turn that on for a while. I'll let you know when.
No, you won't.
I might forget. 375. If I forget later, it's 375. Now I will put on the website the fig filling my husband's cousin gave me, but I'm gonna cheat today and use fig jam because especially during the holidays, especially in December, I don't have time. I need to cut one thing out, and that is the one thing that I cut out of my really high quality fig jam that's really delicious, and you can doctor it with whatever you like. You can use any kind of jam. And then I'll have on the website the recipe for the filling that she uses. All right, you got your handy dandy mixer. In the bowl of the mixer, you are going to put 1 stick of butter. You are also going to put 1 cup of sugar.
Oh, never mind.
Sorry. 1.5 teaspoons of honey. And this is going to be flavoring it and making it stable. So if you're not getting every single little tiny bit, don't worry about it. The beautiful thing about cookies this time of year, and especially Italian cookies this time of year, is they are meant to be shared. They're meant for everybody to have them. Make these, give them to your friends, give them the recipe, share it along. That's what this is for.
Share it along.
Share it along. Now we are just going to cream this. So I haven't talked too much about creaming before, but basically you're just looking for everything to be one homogeneous mixture. Most of the time it takes a little bit longer than you think it does. Don't be afraid of that. So we've got that creamed. Next we are going to add 1 at a time 2 eggs. And again, not an exact science. If it's 1.5 eggs, you're fine. We just want it to get mixed up in there. So I'm just gonna do a really quick scrape down, make sure we're getting everything in here. Scrape the bottom. We just kind of want this all to be together and happy, just like a family at Christmas. That's pretty good. Now we're gonna add, this is the flavoring, and it's the best part. So it is a teaspoon of vanilla, and then you're gonna do a half teaspoon of orange extract. I have done this recipe doing orange zest. I've used straight orange oil. The oil can be a little bit finicky. I suggest the extract because the alcohol in it will burn off. But that orange flavor mixed with the fig filling that we're gonna do, brilliant. So let's add those flavorings in. You know how I feel.
You can't touch anything.
I can't. I was touching brown sugar today and I was like, ah.
Someone's gonna be able to watch this with like a whole psychological profile.
Please do. Someone tell me what's wrong. All right, now we're gonna add, I have to look at the recipe because I don't remember. This is a 1/4 cup of milk. It is at room temperature. Everything we try to do when you're making cookies should be the same temperature. And preferably that is room temperature because then everything will be homogeneous. So I'm gonna have you come close real quick. So I want you to look at this because once we've added the milk, even though it's all the same temperature, it's gonna look a little curdled. I don't want you to stress about that. Do not worry about that. That's part of the recipe. That's what it's gonna do, you're fine. Once we add the flour, I'll show you the dough and you'll realize there's nothing wrong. You did it okay. All right, so now we are going to take 3½ cups of flour. To that, I'm gonna add a half a teaspoon of salt. And 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now I mentioned this a little bit in the biscuit recipe. When you're using this large of an amount of baking powder in a smaller batch recipe, like we did for the biscuits, like we did for this cookie, it's pretty important that you go and look for aluminum-free baking powder because you're adding a good amount, which is gonna help it rise, which is exactly what we want. But adding that much is also gonna add a tinny weird flavor to it, unless you just splurge for the aluminum-free baking powder. So that's just a little tip, do aluminum-free. It'll help you, I promise. And you're gonna see as I'm adding this flour, it's gonna already start becoming one mixture. See how it's not looking curdled anymore? Already. All right, so I want you to look at the bowl real quick. As soon as it detaches from the side like that, we're pulling it, it's done. Lightly flour the surface using your Parmesan shaker. We're gonna go all the way to the bottom, make sure we didn't miss any flour. All right, you're gonna knead it slightly, which means I'm gonna need my gloves. We're not gonna knead this like a pasta dough. We're not gonna need to go that hard. We don't need to develop a bunch of gluten like we're making a bread, but we need to at least get it smooth. Add as much flour as you need. Just to I'm gonna work it with a bench scraper. And just make it one little rectangle. It's sticky, y'all. It's gonna be sticky. It's supposed to be sticky. Don't stress, I've got you. It's supposed to be sticky, which is exactly why we're gonna wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the fridge for 1 hour. And it's gonna be much easier for us to roll out. Pop it in, bleep, and we're just gonna wrap it up. I wanna keep it in a rectangle as much as possible because that's what the shape will be when we roll it out. So as you can see, I'm just kind of patting it into a little rectangle, like a baby's bottom. Fold it over, pop it in the fridge for 1 hour. 1 hour. In the meantime, I'm gonna take a quick break and clean this up so that we can start the S cookies for my hubby. I am someone who does care about waste and the environment. That is something that is important.
Sorry.
Wait, I don't know where, I've lost an index card. Oh, it's right here. Okay.
Now the focus is off.
Now the focus is off. I have a real job. So, we are going to make my husband's childhood S cookies. Do you remember when I told you to go ahead and melt that stick of butter and let it cool to room temperature? Insert noise here. It's still gonna be a little slidey. That's just the milk solids and the water working together. You're fine, you did it right. One of the most important things about the show, one of the main reasons I wanted to start this show, was to let you guys know that baking is not as scary as you think it is. Yeah, there are rules you have to follow, but there's a lot of room to play. Don't stress out. If it comes out looking weird, you don't have to immediately call me and say, hey, what'd I do wrong? No, you're good. You're good. Feel free to comment any questions you have. I will answer them. I don't gatekeep. I will answer any questions that you have other than my brownie recipe. So you've got your 1 stick of butter in here that's melted. We know. This is a 1/2 cup of sugar. Now, one of the ingredients that we're going to need for this is 1 egg beaten, and I'm going to show you how I do it. Easiest thing in the world. We break the egg to the side of the bowl, not on the side of the bowl. Breaking it on the side of the bowl risks getting eggshells into there, and we don't want that. So we're going to cut it on this side of the bowl and just pop it open. And she's beautiful. If for any reason your egg is bad or it's not, fresh, you're gonna be able to tell before you ruin all your batter and you have to start over. This needs to be lightly beaten. We're just gonna break the yolk. We are gonna start creaming that butter and sugar. And it's gonna cream faster than usual because it was melted beforehand. All right, so now it's creamed together, easy peasy. Add your 1 egg, let that get all together. Have a little party. To this, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of milk, not very much, and we are going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So what we're gonna do next may seem counterintuitive, but we are going to add the baking powder directly to this mixture before we add the flour. And I'm gonna show you why in just a second, but we're gonna add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Now this recipe specifically calls for between 1 3/4 and 2 cups of flour. You may not need that 2 cups of flour. You may only need 1 3/4. It could be the flour, it could be the way you measured it, it could be the humidity, but we're gonna start by adding the flour and we're just gonna add it until it looks like a cookie dough. And I'll show you what I mean by that too. And you can eyeball it. I know that some people get a little nervous around baked goods and they want to make sure that they measure everything, and that's absolutely fine. I just kind of do it by eye because I've just done it for so long. So what I'm gonna show you real quick is, do you see how liquidy this still is? You've got parts that are just pure liquid, so we are gonna keep adding a little bit of the flour. You don't want it stiff, but see how it's looking like actual cookie dough now? That's what you're looking for. That is exactly what you're looking for. You want it to look like you just made sugar cookies. We didn't use any of this flour. I've also made this recipe where I use all the flour, which is why I want to show you the visual cues with it being pliable but not sticky. See how it doesn't stick to my fingers? We're gonna put this back out on the board here. We're gonna just combine it. See how not greasy and doughy this one is? It's a dream to work with. We are going to wrap it in plastic wrap. This one, because it doesn't need to rest as much, is only gonna go in the fridge for 15 minutes. At this point, preheat your oven to 375.
She did it! Woo!
So every oven is different. I always encourage people to buy an oven thermometer just to check that when you turn your oven to 375 that it actually heats to 375. This oven, I know for a fact, it takes about 15 minutes for it to get the exact right temperature. It takes a little bit of time in the forefront, but it's gonna save you time when you're baking. Timer. 15 minutes. So it's been 15 minutes.
Professional.
What you're gonna do is you're gonna get 1 container with milk, 1 container with sesame seeds. Milk, sesame seeds, milk, sesame seeds. So you're gonna grab a sheet pan. I happen to use half sheet pans because I'm a bakery, but you wanna put parchment down. You wanna make sure there's something on here. Silpat, parchment, grease the pan, something. Now we're gonna grab our sesame cookie dough out of the fridge, take off a little hunk, about this size. This is not gonna be something you have to be delicate with. I mean, see how I'm just pressing all the air out of that? So we're just gonna roll it into a log. Now we're gonna take this log, dip it in the milk, dip it in the sesame seeds. Then we're gonna make a little S for my handsome husband. If there's a crack, don't worry about it. In the oven, the baking powder is gonna connect that, but if you want to, you can just beep, 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 squeeze it back together. No harm, no foul.
Can you do an E?
An E?
Yeah. For you. For Elisa.
Oh, For Alyssa, yeah. So we'll try a lowercase e because he can't do anything without me. Dip it in the milk, dip it in the sesame seeds. Oh, she's fragile today. Ta-da! You can basically make any shape that you want. These keep their shape fairly well. They'll just puff a little. So once you've got the basic shape, you are golden.
Oh my gosh, you made a heart. S-R-E. Oh.
Gross. What I'm gonna do now is a couple of what you normally see in Italian bakeries. All I've done is put it in a circle, a little round, dip it in the milk, cover it in sesame seeds, put it on the pan, squish it a little. Then wash your hands because now you're covered in sesame seeds. I'm gonna do a couple more of these. This is a really fun thing to do if you have kids, because the way this dough works is kind of like Play-Doh, and you're not gonna overwork it. So get the kids making whatever shapes they want. Dinosaurs, robots, ninjas, all the things my husband likes. If you have the skills, you can do anything. All right, now this is gonna go in the oven that you already preheated to 375 for about 15 minutes. Then I'm gonna pull out the fig dough and we're gonna make fig cookies. Baculate.
Nailed it.
So we've got that fig dough that's been sitting in the fridge. You can put it in the fridge for an hour. You can put it in overnight. It's not gonna matter. I mean, that's a quick step, right? You just make the dough one day and throw it together the next day right before people arrive. Anything that saves me a step, I'm in. So this is that beautiful fig dough that we made with the orange extract. I'm gonna powder it a little, shake off the excess, flip it, do the same thing. Just gonna put a little flour on it and then pat it off. That's gonna get it ready for the rolling pin. And you want this dough cold because remember how sticky it was? Don't be afraid to get rough. Happy anniversary to my husband.
That's so romantic.
We're trying to keep a rectangle-ish form. And this makes a lot of cookies, you guys. The part of the recipe that I'm giving you is a half recipe. So if you're having a big party or you're having a lot of people over, go ahead and double it. It's made for that. So this is about where I want it. Probably about a 1/4 inch thick. Now I'm going to take, well, oh, there it is.
Oh, are you okay? You're a little sweaty.
I'm dying.
Do you want to take a second and get your sink 5?
As soon as that oven comes on.
Honey, be careful with that water.
What? I just am thirsty.
Baby.
Well, at least you know I drink out of mason jars. So you want the dough. First of all, if you need some water, take a break. Hydrate yourself. Stay calm. We want the dough to be a little cold to the touch. And now all I'm gonna do is use a bench scraper, which is my best friend when I'm working with dough. Just gonna trim the ends and the sides. You don't have to throw this away, make little baby cookies. We just want an approximate rectangle shape. I am by no means talented on straight lines, so you don't have to worry about it either.
I mean, my gosh, you can't even keep your shirt dry.
Keep my shirt dry for a freaking shoot. I have one job to do. That's to bake and show you how to do it. And what do? This is real television, people.
This is professional.
This is professional. At the beginning of the show, I told you guys, there is this beautiful Sicilian filling that I have the recipe for that I will share with you on the blog. But if you're like me and it's the holiday season and I gotta get this out, I've spilled something on my shirt and I've gotta get the dough going, fig jam is your best friend. And actually it can be any flavor, technically. Now you're gonna take, I use a little baby offset spatula. You can use a fork, a knife, it doesn't matter. Just leave a little bit of a gap and spread you on some figs. This is going to end up tasting like a better version of a very popular cookie that has figs in the middle. So keep that in mind. That's kind of what you're building here. Gonna roll this on top of it. Let's just do this. I have found that for me, a spiral is the easiest way to go. So lay the first layer down, flip it on top of itself. We're just gonna take that, cut it, and cut good sized pieces. So see all that how that fig jam gets up in there? That is the good stuff. These are gonna puff up more than out, so you can fit quite a good number on one sheet pan. So I'm gonna do another set of these. So you already have your oven preheated to 375 because that's what we baked the sesame cookies at. You're gonna keep it at 375, but what I want you to do is move your rack to the bottom. That's just gonna give the bottom of these a really nice darkened brown while keeping the tops kind of a uniform color. Again, we're just gonna fold it up one time and we're just gonna fold that up on top of itself. Cut off the excess and you're just gonna make whatever size cookies you want. And as I said, they go up more than out, so you can fit quite a good number of these cookies on here. If you want to, at this point, you can always put them in the fridge again just to firm up, but it's not gonna matter either way. These are gonna turn out delicious. You can also use like an egg wash on them if you want them to get a darker color. I'm gonna be putting powdered sugar on them, so it doesn't matter what color the top is. So I'm gonna put these in just as they are. These also cook for 15 minutes, 375. Easy as can be. So I'm gonna get these in the oven. Ta-da! I still have 1 minute left on the cookies that are in the oven.
Do a dance.
So we had all that excess dough, right? I'm gonna take this extra dough, put it in the fridge till it gets firm again. And then you can put strawberry jam, raspberry jam. If you have homemade apple butter, just put what your favorite jam is right in the middle, roll it up and get it in the oven. It's gonna taste amazing. I've lost my scissors. Oh. And that dough, unlike the sesame dough, is going to be a-okay if you freeze it. Just freeze it, defrost it, you're good. So let's get this cleaned up really quickly. I hear you. Everybody calm down, jeez. So I'm gonna take a little bit of time, clean up my mess here, dry my shirt off, hopefully, and cook a couple batches of these cookies, get them in and out of the oven, and I'll meet you back here. We'll check out the final product. Maybe you can do something cool there.
Sure.
Sure. All right, so we've baked all of our cookies, our sesame cookies, and I've got these beautiful fig cookies out of the oven. They've cooled off. Now we're just gonna do a little bit of decoration on them. Some people glaze them and put sprinkles. I go the absolute easy route and I'm just gonna put some powdered sugar on them. They look gorgeous, they look snowy. It's perfect for the season. So I've got some powdered sugar and my great-grandmother-in-law's teeny tiny sifter. Put some in here, oops. It's snowing. Put as much or as little as you like. Now, don't those look beautiful? Almost professional. Now, I told you that for weddings, Italian Sicilian weddings, you got a cake platter full of cookies, right? So I've went ahead and taken some of the cookies I've already cooled, and I've started our platter. And now I'm just gonna add the fig cookies. This is not an exact science. You're not plating for a judge. You are putting cookies that you are gonna share with your family and friends on a pretty plate. Don't stress, don't freak out. Everybody stay calm. We're just making a pretty little cake platter.
I think you're the only person on YouTube trying to teach people how to cook like he's using a bomb.
Well, I mean, people get so intimidated by it and it's really fun. You know, and there's so many competition shows nowadays where everybody's like, oh, I made a cake and it didn't turn out right. You made a cake. Celebrate it. Here is our Sicilian cookie wedding platter. We've got our sesame cookies. We got the sesame and the S's. These are perfect with coffee. They're a little dry, but they're meant to be that way to have with coffee. And then we've got our little fig cookies over here, beautifully dusted with powdered sugar. And you've got a plate worthy of a wedding. So I'm going to grab a little coffee and try these out. So I was just going to have some regular coffee, but my husband made me a little maginette. The little percolator, it's Italian, sometimes they call them mocha pots.
I think so.
Yeah, and I like mine with just a little sugar in it because it can be a little strong. So I'm gonna show you guys kind of the telltale things that we're looking for in these. We want our S's to be brown on the bottom, light colored on top, and they're gonna snap very easily. That's your dunking biscuit. These are also brown on the bottom, but they look like a very famous kind of cookie. Jelly's gonna come out a little bit on the side. That's okay, it doesn't matter. It's still beautiful and delicious. So I'm gonna try the fig first while my coffee cools down just a bit. That's really good. We had these at our wedding and I pretty much ate them all myself. Orange doesn't hit you till the very end. but it just cuts through all the sweetness. Don't skip the orange. Soft, fluffy, chewy, in a good way. These are killer. Now our little dunking biscuit, our little S, got that crisp little snap. It's almost like a biscotti that hasn't done the second bake. It's soft on your teeth. The sesame gets toasted as it bakes, so it's got that nuttiness to it. Really simple, really delicious cookie. I can see adding all kinds of flavorings to this, but the way you eat it, my Sicilian husband taught me, is you gotta dunk. It's almost like it changes it to a different cookie. Like it keeps the nuttiness and it kind of accentuates the nuttiness of the coffee. And that coffee flavor just takes over. That's really good. So here you have it, your Italian cookie spread. This is years of family history all on one plate. It's been at weddings, it's been at funerals, it's been at parties, it's been at Christmas. These cookies are literally a part of now my family's history. And I am so proud to share them with you guys for all of your big events. You've got to try these. And get you a husband that makes you wife, get yourself a partner that makes you a delicious Maganaga. Because that's the true winner. Happy anniversary. And don't forget our special little cookies. Because there's no better way to celebrate our anniversary. Thank you so much, you guys. I'll see you next time. Like, comment, subscribe, save, so you don't miss the next episode out next week. Bye! I need more cookie in my life. It's so good.